When Digital Photo recently said to me, "Come on David, show us your favourite filter technique," well, this one immediately sprang to mind. It was taken a little while ago, and it's the haze on a snack bar right in the centre of Cardiff, and I just like this painterly effect. So what we're going to have a look at doing now is applying the same effect, but to this image. You'll also find this on the CD, so you can work along with this particular tutorial, or try it on your own images, because it really does work on all different types and subjects as well. And the other thing I should point out, it works in all versions of Photoshop. Doesn't matter which one you're using, 5, 6, 7, CS, and even Elements 2. Right, let's make a start. Pressing F7 on the keyboard, that's the F7 key, will bring up the Layers dialog box. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the background layer. We're going to drag it over the Create a New Layer icon, releasing it. There you are, so we now have a background copy. Let's just double click, and we're going to rename this one Paint. There you are, just so we know what we're doing. Now clicking on the paint layer, we're going to drag this once again now over the Create New Layer icon. So we now have a paint copy. But clicking on the text, we can now call this, what are we going to call this one? We're going to call this one Lines, because that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to apply some lines, or really it's edges. Alright, find edges. Now they can be found under the Filter, Stylize, the ever popular Find Edges. Clicking on that. There you go, there's the effect which has now been applied. Right, working on the paint layer, and this is the reason why I named it, just to make life a little bit easier, rather than saying background copy. Switching off the lines layer so we can see what we're doing, we're now going to come to the Filter, Artistic, Dry Brush, which is going to be our paint. There you are, you can see our nice painterly look going on there. We're looking at this area of our image here, and what we're looking for is the detail that we've got in our windows and our door. That looks pretty good there. Let's just take the texture up to 2. That looks better there. You can see just a few more tones coming through there in the... Yeah, just a few more tones coming there, particularly in the stonework and in the roof there. Looking pretty good. Worth experimenting with the brush sizes. It is also dependent on the image size you're using, so it's always worth just experimenting. That looks even better there. You can just see a little bit more detail coming through there on the particular windows, those small little window frames. Right, click OK to that. And across it shoots, job done. Clicking on the background layer, switching off the paint layer so we can see what we're doing on our background layer. We're going to come to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. There's our Gaussian Blur dialog box. Now a good idea with this is to make sure you have the preview switched on so you can see on the main image what we're actually doing as well. And what we want to do is we want to blur the image, but we want to keep the colour in, and we want to keep a bit of detail. So round about the 10.5 radius pixels, that looks pretty good there. And if we bring our cursor out, you can see the way it changes. And we've still got that nice colour. Click OK, job done. Talking of colour, let's come to Image, Adjustment, Hue Saturation. Control U is the shortcut. There's our hue saturation palette. And what we're going to do now, as you know, everything in Photoshop is done in moderation. Usually using this around about the +10, +20. Dooey heck, we're going to take this one right the way up to, let's have a look, around about +50. Some really vivid colours going on there. Click OK to that. The reason for blurring it as well, it just gives a nice bleed to the colours. Right, now let's blend these layers together. And to do this, we're going to use the blend modes. So, clicking on the paint layer, this has now become our live layer. You can see the paintbrush in there, blue with the white text. And the blend mode situated in the top left hand corner. Little drop down arrow there, clicking on it, and there's the drop down menu. We're going to come to Soft Lights. There's the first stage of our image, and we're going to repeat this now, clicking on the lines layer. Once again coming down to, on the blend modes, you've got what it's called then, we're going to come down to soft lights again. There's the effect. Let's zoom in using Control Spacebar, or just need to press Control because I've actually got the hand tool selected. And there's our effect, and as you can see, there's the wedding, there's his camera, there's the bride and groom and the photographer having a quick word with them, saying please smile. Right, zooming out using Alt Spacebar. Job done. Let's have a look at applying some texture now. So to do this, we've got a choice of two things. We can either flatten these layers. The reason we have to flatten these layers, or we can create a new layer directly above, is because we're working in blend modes. Now any effect we apply on blend modes just will not take. So flatten the layers, or clicking on the Create New Layer icon, we can stamp all these layers together. The choice is entirely yours, whichever you feel happy with working with. Now pressing down and holding down Alt on the keyboard, we're going to come to the layer menu and we're going to drop down to merge visible. This will merge the visible layers together, that is all the layers with the little eye icons on. So clicking on that, as quick and as easy as that, there you are. You can release your finger off the Alt key, by the way, now. Right, switching them off, and you can see it's all being combined into that one new layer. By default it's called layer 1. Now for texture, that can be found under filter, texture, texturizer. There's our texturizer dialog box. Texture, canvas, but from the drop down menu we also have brick, burlap, there's the canvas, and sandstone. Let's click on sandstone, but the choice is entirely yours, and whatever suits your image. Just have a look around that area there. I tend to leave it set on the defaults, which is the scaling of 100, relief of 4. Click OK to that. Now the reason I tend to leave it set on the default is if we click now on print size, or zoom into 100% as we've just done, you can now see how it looks on the image when you come to print it out. And it looks a little bit on the heavy size, I think you'll agree, or heavy side should I say, I think you'll agree. So let's come to the edit menu, fade texturizer, there's our fade dialog box. Now what we can do is just by moving the opacity, reducing the opacity down, you can see we can get rid of the texture altogether, or we can bring back as much as we want. So we have got complete control working on our image and seeing how it actually look at print size. Right, let's take it up to around about 75. That looks pretty good there. Click OK to accept that. Now finally, just going to zoom out using Alt spacebar to around about that area there. To finish off, we're going to put a vignette around our image. Now to do that, we're going to click on the create new layer icon once again. There it is, layer 2. You can see it's empty with that checkerboard background. Let's fold this up out the way, and now we're going to make some selections. Now to do that, we're going to pick up the rectangular marquee tool. There's our rectangular marquee tool. Click in just on the inside, dragging it down and out. There you are. We have now made a selection, he says, trying to roughly line it up. If it's a little bit out, don't worry, you can use the up and the down arrows on the keyboard. I'm just going to nudge it down using the down arrow and just drop it down to around about that area there. That's looking pretty good, and don't forget you can also use the right and the left arrow to nudge it round as well. Okay, now let's just have a look, pressing the quick mask, and you can see we've selected the inside of our image. This is selected, the outside has been shielded. So we're going to come to select, inverse. We've now got a double row of marching ants. Now when we click on the quick mask, you can see we've selected the outside and the inside is shielded, but we've also got an extremely hard transition between the two. So clicking back on this one or hitting Q on the keyboard, we're now going to come to select, feather, because we're going to soften this selection. Feather radius 15 pixels is ideal, and just keep an eye on the edge there, and you'll notice as soon as I click OK, see the way that rounded off. So we've now softened our selection. That's looking a lot better. Right, picking up the fill tool, we need to put white as our foreground colour. Now you can hit X on the keyboard or click on the little arrows there. Now clicking right in the centre of those two lines, there's our vignette. Select, deselect to get rid of those marching ants, and because it's on a new layer as well, you can even fade it in slightly. Just zoom in, clicking with the control spacebar over this top area there. You can now reduce the opacity down slightly to around about that area, 90%, just to allow the image to come through slightly. Zoom in out. There's our finished image. Let's get rid of the layers palette. Let's get rid of all the tools. Just press Tab key to remove all the tools, give us a lot more space. Don't forget to press the Tab key to bring them back. Control 0 will open it up full size. There's our finished image. It's the painterly effect we originally saw on Hayes Island, now on this Port Morion image, and you can see it does look extremely nice. It works well on all images, so go on, give it a try on yours, and until the next time, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. My name's David Rowley. Take care.